8:37. Good morning, West Michigan. In the studio with us, as we do every other week, we talk with Mitch Foster, the city manager of Ludington, and the mayor, Mark Barnett, both in the studio this morning. Mitch, good morning to you. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Chris.
And Mayor Barnett, thank you for coming in this morning.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into some of the topics that we want to talk about this morning. And by the way, if you want, you can watch this segment on our Facebook page, WMOM, as well as our YouTube channel. You can listen to it on your smart devices like your Amazon Alexa, your Google Home, and streaming at WMOM.FM, and of course, over your radio. And if you should have a question for the two of these individuals, you can certainly chime in. Just put a comment below our Facebook page, and we'll try to address that as much as possible. Let's talk about some of the conversation on the agenda for the nighttime tonight. The city council meeting starts at 6 p.m. Mr. Mayor, you've been having more people show up at the city council meetings. And that interaction and engagement probably important for you to get that feedback from the city. How have things gone now that we're in just starting your fourth month as mayor?
Yeah, it's gone well. Appreciate people taking the time to come out and listen from time to time, get up and express their opinion, and just give, as you say, feedback. It's important.
Absolutely, and one of the topics that you'll be discussing tonight is not necessarily controversial, but it's something that was more surprising than anything, and that was that there is an invoice that's due or partially due for some body cameras, tasers, and in-car cameras for Ludington Police Department. This is something that under the previous chief Kozel had signed an agreement there. Obviously, just starting out before we kind of go more into the details, having body cameras, having tasers, having in-car cameras, probably a need for the police department, right? I mean, that part of it is important to have, correct?
It really is. I mean, we live in a society where there's tape of just about or recording of just about everything. I think police work, the officers do a great job here in Ludington. And it's important to be able to, when a complaint comes up, if and when a complaint comes up, to be able to go back and to get a more objective view as to what took place. And
did we have Mitch, did we have body cameras prior to this agreement, or was this an extension of the agreement? What was that?
We had some body cameras, but they were essentially being utilized by multiple officers. So you would share body cameras with a different officer. And so now, under this new agreement, each officer has their own body camera. When they're done with their shift, they plug it in, it downloads everything so they can double check footage, and then when they show up for their shift the next time, it's fully charged and ready to go and can clip right back onto their body. Okay,
and so the kind of the deal now is that the city, because you kind of set your budget for the year, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're looking at that, and this is an additional expense that you maybe didn't expect. Or just did it get lost in the paperwork? What was that situation like, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so the situation occurred at the end of 2021. Former Chief Kozel signed a couple of contracts to dealing with tasers, in-car cameras, and body cameras. Unfortunately, or fortunately, he did that because there was a huge discount that was given at the end of 2021. All these companies, they want to meet their sales quotas, and so they drop their prices pretty dramatically at the end of each year. However, it's a 5-year contract, which means anything over 3-year contracts at the city of Ludington have to be approved by council under an ordinance, and that was never done. Mm-hmm. So moving forward, we have the first reading tonight for those items, and then we'll have them hopefully approved at the next meeting so that the contract itself is fully approved, and move forward with the agreement.
Does it put the city in jeopardy of any sort of late fees or anything like that? Because it sounds like the company that the agreement was with waited a long time to send the first bill.
Yeah, so that's part of what is the situation. Is we, most staff, we had applied for a grant for this, had been awarded the grant, and as we're trying to go through the grant and the federal kind of reporting guidelines, that's when we realized they hadn't billed us at all. And we realized that, we had a contract in place. And so all of those things kind of came out as we were digging into why we weren't being billed. So that's unfortunate that we're in this place, but we'll be correcting that issue and moving forward.
And Mayor Barnett, as a former police chief, as you reiterated at the top, obviously these are necessities and resources for the force too, but it goes beyond that.
Well, it really does. I mean, in the event that something unfortunate were to happen, an injury or something like that were to occur, it gives the investigators, follow-up investigators, critical information really to follow up on that, on what took place. So I think it's an important issue.
And the city council that will be looked at tonight. How much are we dealing with cost-wise? Mitch, do you know that number?
The number offhand, I believe it's close to $33,000 a year.
Okay.
Okay. I believe.
And so, if this was signed in 2020, are you going to have to catch up on 2 or 3 years now?
So it was signed at the end of 2021. Okay. So really, it's just, and that was for a 2022 start.
Okay.
So really, we have to make sure that we get 2022 covered and now 2023. They bill us, and the way the contract works is we're supposed to be billed on the first of the year every year. Mm-hmm. However, Axon, this company, with the situations revolving around law enforcement and public safety over the last couple of years, Axon's gotten so large and so inundated with requests for body cameras and in-car cameras that even on their contract it states that we have to keep an eye on that, and that there's no technical invoice. So we have to request an invoice every year so that we can meet the grant guidelines, as well as just make sure that we issue that pay request regularly too.
How much of an impact is this going to be on the budget?
Fortunately, zero.
Okay.
Or very little, only because we plan to budget for body cameras on a regular basis. And with the giant discount that was given by Axon at the end of 2021 when those contracts were signed, we budgeted for what we thought the number was at that point in time, which was almost double. So that is helping us, at least for 2022 and for 2023.
All right. Mayor Barnett, again, as former police chief here in Ludington, with these body cameras in other departments, and I don't know if we have that department, that individuals here at our department, there is somebody that goes through that footage when there is a request. What does that look like internally in the police department?
Well, it's like anything else that you keep for evidentiary purposes, historical purposes, anything like that. There's a certain number of man hours that's required, and anytime there's a request made for video footage or audio footage, whatever it is, it takes somebody to do that. So that really is a staff responsibility, and so again, it's not just a free thing that it's nice to have, and I mean it costs money, it costs real dollars, it costs real man hours, and but again, the decision has been made that is worth it, and so we need to pursue that.
Is there any, last question on this topic, then we'll move on. Is there any bumps in the road in regards to what previous Chief Kozel did versus getting the invoice now and such? There's no review that needs to be done, now that he's not here. Is there any issues that you foresee? Mitch?
I mean, at this point in time, Chief Chris Jones is doing his due diligence to go through everything that we've got. Mm-hmm. They did an inventory of all of our technology. So that is all of our computers, all of our cameras, all of our servers, both body, in-car, and around the city. And now I've requested, or going to be requesting of all departments to provide all the contracts that we have so that we can double check to make sure there's no outstanding one that was missed at some point in time, as well as make sure that, hey, do we have a renewal coming up shortly on a certain contract that we've got to be prepared for? Because some departments may have had this circumstance back in the day that council didn't approve them, and we need to just make sure that everything's taken care of and buttoned up moving forward.
Would $33,000 a year would that have been approved by the council, do you think? Yes, because even at the time, the Public Safety Committee approved moving forward at the larger number. Okay.
Back in 2021, we found an August date of the Public Safety Committee where they approved moving forward with it. And so, from my perspective, I think the council is looking to have these, or wants to have this, because they see the value. Mm-hmm. I think it's just making sure that the process is followed appropriately. Absolutely.
We're talking with Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, Mayor Barnett, Mark Barnett, in the studio with us. Mark, you have been very very involved in the Sesquicentennial celebrations and activities. The first one, which went without a hitch, it was pretty awesome, and hopefully the cake was pretty good. The speeches were fantastic, and a lot of people from the community came out. And now we look forward to other activities. I think the next one is going to be the weekend of the 9th through the 11th. If unless some activity comes in between, and it sounds like there's more activities being added to the agenda, right?
Yeah, it's great. People that are business folks and different organizations, as they begin to know a little bit more about it, are planning these things and kind of moving forward is kind of a snowball effect in that sense. And so we're looking forward to June 9th through the 11th, but we're also looking forward to other things that are planned now or that people are talking about maybe planning for the future. So it's pretty cool.
All right. One of those activities comes up on the agenda tonight. And that is the cycling clubs here locally looking forward to doing some sort of scavenger hunt, right?
Yep, I believe what they're going to do is use bicycles, Mitch, if that's correct,
Yep.
and use bicycles and really bike through some significant areas of the city and get some historical education and that kind of thing. And I think it's pretty cool, mixing things, learning and bike riding would be pretty cool.
All right, Mitch. Yeah, anything more to talk about in regards to that?
Yeah, the Shoreline Forest Cycling Club is working with MSU Extension to do it's a virtual kind of scavenger hunt form or production sheet that they're going to be utilizing for kind of a citywide scavenger hunt. And then they're working with Kurt Kathamer over at the cemetery on a secondary one, one that will be focused in on the cemetery itself. They're going to identify some of our military veterans and folks that fought in numerous different wars across generations, and use those and contact those families to make sure they're comfortable with it. But use those as well as some of our historical figures from Ludington's history and have a much smaller one. Both of these, I believe, are going to last for the full month of May. So you'll be able to take your time and go do it in different places, take your photos with the virtual one, but it should be a fun time for families and people of all ages.
All right, and they're bringing this up to City Council for consideration because what's the aspect of that needs to be approved?
So really, the cemetery one is the sensitive one, obviously. Okay. Anytime that you do anything around a cemetery, you are automatically going to cause some folks some frustration and concern just because it is a cemetery. That's where their loved ones or loved ones of the community are laying rest. And so that's one of the big ones. The other one is the citywide one. It's just making sure that we're comfortable with, or that City Council is comfortable with, potentially hundreds of kids and families riding their bikes around town, going to very specific locations at bulks at a time, so that everybody's aware of it. And in general, Chris, City Council also takes these issues that may not need full requirement or approval requirements, but sometimes it's just helpful to get the news out there at a city council meeting. And so they'll take these items up just for that purpose too at times. Yeah,
you don't want to blindside people, especially when it comes to, as you mentioned, with the cemetery. Do you see pushback happening with the cemetery, or has there been events that have, because I know we have the cemetery walk, or the later on in the Sesquicentennial activities.
Yep.
Have you seen any sort of pushback in regards to that in the past?
So in the past, when things have occurred in the cemetery, they've done them without asking for permission.
Okay.
And I think working with the Shoreline Forest Club worked directly with Kurt Kathamer, our cemetery sexton, who knows the vast majority of those families that are there on a regular basis. And so that sensitivity was helpful, and he is working directly with them to make sure that this is a successful and uninvasive event for people. We're not going to have people just tramping around on gravestones and that sort of thing. It's going to be in a very respectful manner.
All right, and from the benefit, Mayor Barnett, your thoughts on adding this to the plans for the Sesquicentennial?
Well, I think the whole event is about history, right? And give people the opportunity to go through and to see real folks that really existed doing real things. That's huge. I've had experiences years ago where we went through there and through part of this activity, looked at some of the grave markers and that kind of thing. It was just amazing, some of the lives that people led.
Okay.
And so I think it's a good thing if done properly and respectfully.
Absolutely. Now, the first tonight, could it be approved, or it's going to be so it could be approved tonight. All right. Let's also talk about the Shoreline Force. They are going to be bringing up something that will be a cost to the city, or is the bicycle club going to absorb that? Mitch?
Zero cost,
Okay.
at least to the city, and that's in maintenance as well. So the Shoreline Forest Cycling Club is looking to do a pedal pad. Okay. So back in the day when we used to have bicycle roundups on a regular basis, you'd have kind of those temporary kind of markers and signs placed in locations. I remember doing mine back at the Optimist Club over in Scottville. Well, the idea here is this is almost a rubberized mat that's fairly large, but is perfect for kids under the age of 5 to learn how to cycle and to learn how to bike. They'll put signs up. They'll have some insignia on the mat itself. The cycling club's going to maintain that area. They're going to take it in or put it in. They're going to take it out, so there are going to be no cost to the city. Okay. But one of the things that I think really turned the minds of the Parks and Recreation Committee was the idea that Allison Helminski from the middle school, she's a PE teacher, and when she was talking about the fact that there are a number of kids at her school that have never been on a bike before and have no idea how to use a bike, that really, I think, made a difference to the committee, and so that's really the big push here.
All right, and we're going to be talking about Bike to School Week coming up, or Bike to School Day coming up in early May. Are you going to be part of that again?
Yeah, I mean, I'd always love to ride along with you again, Chris.
All right.
On a day like that, it's really nice to be in a warm car.
That's always fun as well. Mark, do you get on a bike at all? Do you
Every once in a while. Once in a while.
All right, we'll have to get you.
I don't know why Mitch would laugh at that.
No,
because he'll come along for the golf cart ride.
No, it's all right. Do you have a Mayer golf? Does he have a Mayer golf cart, by the way?
I have a personal.
Oh, okay.
My daughter and my daughter gave me a Christmas present one year, and it's a Tesla hood ornament. So I popped that baby on my electric golf cart. Okay. So I call it my mini Tesla. So yep.
That's cool.
It would be kind of cool if we could wrap up that golf cart in Ludington, Sesquicentennial.
Yes, he did say personal just a moment ago. That
would be kind of cool though.
Yeah, no, it's true. We are talking with Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, Mayor Barnett in the studio with us. Let's talk more about the Sesquicentennial plans, the street party, the events and happenings the 9th through the 11th. What's been the conversations now that we're getting closer to, well, that's happening in June, but that'll be here before we know it. What's anything new in regards to that?
I don't know if I know there's something that we know is happening that we cannot release to everybody yet, but it's going to be pretty awesome. We've gotten some partnerships from local businesses in town. Occidental Chemical Corporation is the main primary headline sponsor for this, but we're also still looking for other sponsors for this big event. Corwell Health has kicked in for a sponsorship. A number of others. I think was it Metalworks is the most recent one. We're still looking at others here locally to sponsor this event, but there are going to be a few surprises that we'll announce as we get closer to that event in particular that we think people will really enjoy. It's going to be a great kickoff to summer event. But as you mentioned earlier, Chris, it's not just this event, with the scavenger hunts in May, with the haunted cemetery and the Ludington Avenue tours of historic homes and B&Bs. There's just going to be so much going on, whether it's that weekend or the rest of summer, that it's going to be an amazing time.
Awesome. Speaking of haunted, just on a side note, Todd Sorensen was in the station the other day, and we're planning on promoting the TNT derbies and everything else that he is. And he says, I grew up here, and I don't know what street he mentioned it was on, but there's a haunted house, and he said when we were kids, we looked up at this window and we could see this rocking chair going back and forth and rocking, and it's like nobody lived in that house. That freaks me out. So if it's going to be as fun with learning about some of the haunted areas here in Ludington, I think that's going to be pretty cool. We are talking with Mitch Foster, Mark Barnett in the studio. The Jacyees, they continue to put off fireworks. Last year was a little bit rough because of the weather. Hopefully we'll have good weather this year. But the fireworks went off last year. They're continuing to plan for this year's 4th of July Freedom Festival fireworks and parade. That should probably be to go through pretty easily with approvals, right, Mitch?
Yeah, I would say so. It's a phenomenal event. It's essentially a full couple of days. This year's gonna be a little bit more interesting, just because I think the 4th falls on a Tuesday, so that makes for either that generally will make that weekend prior just massive, because it gives people ample reason to stay for 4 days instead of just 2 or 3. But it makes for a fun time, especially when you pair that up with the art show going on at the same time in Rotary Park. It's gonna make for a great 4 days.
All right, so we're looking forward to that. Let's see. By the way, for all the viewers and listeners, Ludington150.com, Ludington150.com. That's the website that you're constantly updated in regards to this, to make sure that people are aware of the activities and events. We haven't asked this question, but is there, other than attending a lot of these activities, are you looking for people to be involved, or, as you said, with sponsorships with the businesses, but is there an element of having the community involved with any of these activities that you're looking for to kind of plant the seed right now? Mayor Barnett?
I think that, of course, the different events are always going to be looking for folks to help them short term, maybe not plan the whole thing out, but certainly to implement some of the things, whether it's there's a mile dash that's going to happen on July 3rd. Maybe they need some folks to help direct the runners. Just the various things that they can, contact the Jacyees or contact the city if they have some spare time and want to jump in. Right off the top of my head, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but I know that there are opportunities for people to serve.
All right, Mitch, do you have any additional for that at all, or not?
Yeah, so if you go to the Ludington150.com website, there's a Contact Us page. So if you're a group out there that is looking to do service projects, or if you're a group that's looking to pair up some sort of event with the Ludington 150, go to that. You can contact either Mayor Barnett, myself, Community Development Director Heather Tykowski, Chamber Director, President Brandy Miller. There's a number of folks that you can contact to say, hey, we want to be involved. Here's what we're thinking of doing. Or, hey, we'd like to pair up the Sesquicentennial and the Ludington 150 with a service event. Awesome. Let's do that too. So I think there's ways that you can do that, but you can go to that Contact Us page and make it known there.
All right. And Heather chimed in on our Facebook page, said that haunted house is on Ludington Avenue. Not sure what cross streets, but we will find that out, by the way. And there you go. Probably somebody living in it, and they're like...
It probably is, and we probably shouldn't talk about it out loud, because it'll start terrifying me as I ride my bike around.
Yeah, absolutely. Or people showing up outside, like, hey, why are these people outside? Speaking of, and I don't mean to bring it up, and we won't stick too much on it, but the herd of deer, you saw we posted that on our Facebook page, and there's a herd of deer that's constantly roaming the streets there. People are going to be continuing to ask, what is the city doing about that? But at this point, we just kind of let the deer do their thing, or if there is any conversation in regards to that. I know we don't have the call anymore, but as we saw the other day, there were 10 deer in this person's yard and 10 deer on the baseball diamond, although it looked like they were playing ball from the photos. But that is just part of what happens here in the city. We obviously have some concerns, just like the viewers have concerns about deer out on the roadways and being hit. But what if any conversations happening?
To my knowledge, there are no additional conversations beyond the ordinance that dealt with kind of the feeding of wild animals. Okay. I think it's a circumstance where we live in an area of the state that is surrounded by good habitat for the deer. They are healthy populations to our knowledge. The DNR has not expressed any concerns about their health or a chronic wasting disease issue. However, there is just a lot of them, especially in town. I counted 22 that came out of the property next door to mine on Easter Sunday, so yesterday, right in the morning. heading over to behind Great Lakes Castings. So there's a lot of them, and as of right now, City Council has not brought it back up for a conversation.
All right, and might not have to. We just have to deal with it, and that's part of it. I mean, I grew up in northern Michigan, and we had deer in the backyard every morning. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily 10, but we had them on a regular basis, and that is part of living here in West Michigan, especially in rural communities. Let's talk about ARPA dollars as we wrap up, getting closer to wrapping up this morning. Remind me what the ARPA dollars are.
So those were the American Rescue Plan Act dollars,
okay.
the big kind of stimulus package that the federal government kicked out to states and locals. So the city has, Clerk Luskin and myself have reconciled those dollars. We have just about over $100,000 left that were savings from other projects, are just unallocated right now. And so tonight at City Council, I'm going to bring it up for conversation. Ask that City Council allow me to kick it out to the public again, to get some more ideas, or to go down the list of ideas we originally had and see what folks are thinking with that remaining dollar amount, because it's still a significant amount of money that we can use to spend on public projects or public issues.
So I guess the first couple questions that I have is what projects were earmarked for that? And have we accomplished those projects? Are they going to be starting here soon? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the original amount, we had allocated, I think, just about everything out. And that included lead lines. We put $400,000 right off the top into lead lines. We put $42,000 into some generators for a couple of lift stations. We put in $50,000 for a trash pump, which essentially is used when we have high water events or when a sewer system is overflowing. We put some money into paying off back bills, utility bills for people that were way behind. We put in some money for assisting Hospitality Inc. in their homeless shelter. Trying to think what else we've got in there. Helped with a playground relocation, things like that. But we had some savings, especially over at Stearns Beach. We made some fixes over to the bathrooms, both the north and south concession stand, and those came in well under budget and what we anticipated. So that allows us some extra money left over.
Okay. Speaking of bathrooms, if you don't mind me asking, because that came up in a comment the other day about are they still locked up? And if they are locked up, what's the next step there?
No, they're being unlocked on a regular basis by PD.
Right.
The situation is the damage now is fairly regular to especially the baby changing stations. And here's my biggest frustration with that.
Okay.
It's happening in the men's restroom and the women's restroom. If you are a kid or you are someone who is damaging these things, could you give any thought to the single parent, father and mother, that has to go into the restroom and figure out a place to change their child in the middle of winter or in spring when the weather is junk, and they can't change their kid on a changing table and they have to use the floor? These are real problems, and by damaging these baby changing stations, you're just making it worse for that parent. So please, can people just, whether it's at Ludington or at a different place, realize that those baby changer stations play a vital role for parents. Think about that before you damage them.
Absolutely. Good message there. What and times that they're open and stuff?
We try to get them open as early as possible.
Okay.
I hear from our run club friends. Former Councilor Cerna in particular is not afraid to let me know when they're not open, and so she plays a really good role to let me know, hey, we missed it this morning. Let's get it back open. Yeah. But we try to get them open, first thing in the morning, so the run club or the folks that run in the morning have access, and then we try to close it, at night, 7, 8, 10 o'clock, somewhere right in that range, whenever the police officers are able to get to them.
And any sort of leads, Mr. Mayor, on that? Is there anything that the police are communicating with you or with the city council on any sort of leads at all?
I would say this. I think it's listening to what Mitch was talking about, I totally agree with that. The other thing is that anytime people have the opportunity or the misfortune, depending on your perspective, to see somebody engaged in destructive activity, please contact 911 center. The non-emergency number is 869-5858, or dial 911. But just let the police department know as soon as you see it, rather than waiting to go home and call in later. It really is imperative. And, crime prevention and crime detection is really all of our responsibility. And I apologize for putting one hat down and putting on another,
okay.
but it really is important. I mean, these are public properties. These are public dollars that are being spent. And the minute that one changing table or bathroom stall door or whatever it is damaged, that costs everybody money. Mm-hmm. And so I would just ask that people really have an opportunity to be proactive and really report things that they see quickly.
And I think we had an incident where, I don't know which park it was, maybe it was Waterfront or something over the weekend, that with trash or debris or something happening there. Mitch, do you have anything to...
Have not heard anything on that one as of yet, but when we have winds like that on a regular basis, whether it's a Republic truck that loses something out of the back, or frankly, if a garbage can is missed, then that trash can go everywhere, and that's just the reality of living along the lakeshore. But I'll check in with the police department here this morning on that other item.
We are wrapping up here with Mitch Foster, City Manager, and Mayor Barnett. Mayor, there's got to be a message now that you've been at the helm for almost 4 months now, 3 months, and that you want to say to the community in regards to, I know we talked about that, but there's a lot of positives out there. There's a lot of coming together as a community and making this year not only the celebration of the Sesquicentennial, but also just in general, we're starting to see traffic pick up, more visitors here, more there's tourists. Every indication says that we're really going to have an active summer with people traveling. What's your message for the community?
Well, first of all, I would say that as I went door to door during the campaign, it just reinforced everything that I had learned about Ludington for the 19 years that we had been here prior to that, or the 20 years, and that this town is a wonderful community to live in, to visit, to raise your family in, to retire in. Doesn't matter what phase of life that you're in. This town really has opportunities for everyone. And so as we think about people coming and visiting, this year they get a couple extra day possibility around the 4th of July to come and do that. I know prior to living here, we did that a lot, and that drew us here. I just think that we need to recognize how fortunate we are. Mm-hmm. And then I think we also need to, as visitors, need to realize that when we come here, this is somebody's home and community. And so do what you can to leave it a little better when you leave. Just all of those things. I just would encourage people to come here and consider Ludington and Mason County area as a destination for their travel plans this summer.
All right. And somebody asked me over the weekend in regards to Michael's. Mm-hmm. That's going to be something that the visitors and community will see as they travel down the busiest road, Ludington Avenue. Yep. And that progress, where are we at, Mitch, on that?
We are still, building plans are still in the building inspector's office, so we have all of those in place. We have a meeting with Team Reamer here in a couple of weeks to double check on timing. But last time we knew, it was April start date, sometime here in this month. So we'll at least by the middle of summer, we'll have construction going on over there.
All right, and that the second part of that question that was asked was, what about parking? We do have some parking issues here and there. Any sort of vision in the next year, 2, 3 years that you see that will help improve that area?
Well, I think one thing that we've got to, as a community, have to recognize, and I don't think the city has done a good job of talking about it, the new apartments that are directly across Rath Avenue from the Michaels structure, that parking lot that's associated with that's public parking as well. And so people, if they're looking to park downtown and want to walk less than a block, they can park in that parking lot because we have an agreement with that developer that it would be public. And so that's a problem on the city's standpoint not to advertise that on a regular basis.
Because you're going to have issues with the tenants if it's too consumed, right?
Yeah, and so that's one thing that if all of a sudden we get a ton of public parking over there, which would be great that we could utilize that parking lot. But if we start running into problems, then we'll work on some signage for public versus private parking. Okay. However, there are some players and folks in that parking lot behind Ludington Avenue and behind the alley there that, depending upon where things shake out, we could have additional parking spots there too. But in all reality, again, I think I've said this before, Chris, I can park anywhere in downtown and have a shorter distance to walk than I would if I go to Meijer and need to get milk. So it's a perception issue of, I'm going to this business, I want to walk 10 feet instead of a block. But again, it's us as a city and working with the community to make sure, hey, what parking spots we have, we'll make sure that they are available.
And the alley is supposed to be closed eventually, right?
Yep, eventually. Might be an incremental type project like you saw with Legacy Plaza over 20 years, but that's still the goal.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep that as part of the conversation. Make sure that we keep everybody informed. And as always, you can always go to the City Council for any of the topics that we covered today. 6 o'clock tonight is the City Council meeting, and kind of a light agenda today, right? Not too much tonight is what I meant on the agenda, but some things that are going to be always important to the community discussed there, and you can engage with that. That's kind of our civic duty, right? To be part of that.
Absolutely.
6 o'clock at City Council, and Mitch Foster, the city manager of Ludington, Mayor Barnett. We appreciate both of you coming in this morning, as we always do. And if you have anything that you want to have us talk about in these conversations, you can always reach out to us either underneath this video or when we are on live again, or you can reach out to us or the city, and we'll chat about it. Mitch, thanks for coming in. Mark, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It is 9:12 here on 102.7 Mom FM. News and weather coming your way next on WMOM.
Thanks for making us number one.